Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. We're diving headfirst into the financial markets on Friday, January 10th, 2025.
Buckle up.
Yeah, should be an interesting one. You guys have given us a wild pre-market trading show recording and some live market data to unpack.
Yeah, gonna be fun to break it all down.
See what's moving, you know why it's moving, and what it means for all of you out there listening.
It's amazing to me how everything in the market is connected.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna see how economic data and political news and even the California wildfires are all playing a part in investor sentiment
Yeah, it's all connected.
and ultimately driving where that capital flows.
You know, right out of the gate today, the U.S. market opened lower, and the VIX, that's our volatility index, spiked higher.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like there's a lot of anxiety out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Understandably so.
Yeah.
Higher than expected non-farm payroll data definitely spooked some folks. Could be a sign of economic trouble brewing. And then obviously the ongoing California wildfires, those are weighing on sentiment too. Uncertainty just breeds volatility.
Well, and speaking of understanding how traders think, Mark Petrino's technical analysis segment on the trading show was awesome.
Oh, he's great.
He really drove home the importance of market memory and how those support and resistance levels act like psychological anchors.
Yeah, what I find so fascinating about Petrino's approach is that he shows how these principles apply not just to individual stocks,
Right.
but even to the S&P 500, which represents, trillions of dollars and millions of investors. So whether you're looking at a tech giant or a small cap stock,
Yeah.
recognizing these patterns that he talks about can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and he was highlighting patterns like descendant triangles,
Yeah.
which I always find interesting because it's like you're trying to predict if the market's going to break out or break down.
Yeah, it's a puzzle.
It's like a psychological puzzle.
Exactly. And it reinforces the idea that the market is driven by human emotions, right? Fear, greed, hope, the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
And they play out in these predictable patterns. You see it whether you're trading stocks, bonds, or even something like Bitcoin.
Now let's get into some specific companies making headlines. Nvidia, for example, is pushing back pretty hard against President Biden's new chip export restrictions. Tricky situation.
It is. It's a tough one, right? Nvidia is arguing that these restrictions, which are aimed at protecting national security, could actually stifle innovation,
Right.
push the world towards alternative technologies. And so it really raises the question, will these restrictions actually bolster national security, or could they actually backfire in the long run?
Now, meanwhile, Costco is showing some real strength, kind of defying all those concerns about consumer spending with some really strong December sales. I mean, we all love a good bargain, but they seem to be really striking a chord with budget-conscious shoppers right now.
Yeah, what I find interesting is that Costco's performance could be a leading indicator, right?
For broader consumer spending trends in 2025. If people are prioritizing value and essential purchases, even during uncertain times, that tells us something about the overall economic climate.
Now, Tesla is always a hot topic, and this release of a higher-priced Model Y in China really sparked a lot of debate on the trading show today.
It's a bold move, isn't it?
It is.
Trying to boost margins in an already incredibly competitive EV market. They're essentially betting that Chinese consumers will pay a premium for this latest Model Y. But the big question is, will this strategy pay off, especially with so many Chinese EV makers entering the market?
Now, speaking of fierce competition, Fubo TV is having a pretty good day after that news broke that Disney, Fox, and Warner Brothers are shutting down their joint sports streaming venture.
Yeah.
That's a shakeup.
Huge shakeup. Really highlights how quickly the streaming landscape can change, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. So while these giants kind of stumble, smaller players like Fubo TV, they've got a real chance to capture that market share. It's a classic David and Goliath story. Makes you wonder, could this be a good time to maybe add Fubo TV to your watch list?
Now, shifting gears a little bit, it's impossible to ignore the impact of the California wildfires.
Yeah,
Obviously a devastating tragedy,
absolutely.
but they are sending shockwaves through the market.
Right. And the economic consequences are significant. We're already seeing potential opportunities emerge in sectors like housing, construction, and fireproofing materials. For example, Bridger Aerospace, that's an aerial firefighting company, saw their stock surge today, likely due to the increased demand for their services.
It's a stark reminder that even amidst tragedy, the market is always looking to adapt and find opportunities. But it also raises a question. How do you balance potential investment opportunities with the ethical implications of events like this?
It's tough. It's something investors always have to wrestle with.
Yeah. Definitely something to think about. Now, while we're on the EV boom, the trade show highlighted some interesting companies benefiting in ways that you might not expect.
Yeah.
Vision Marine Technologies, for example, soared on news of a partnership to produce coolant plates for electric boat batteries.
Electric boats?
Electric boats.
Wow.
It makes sense, though, right? Everything's going electric these days.
Everything. You're right. It's a good reminder to always be looking for those emergent trends, right? And those niche applications as entire industries are evolving. Another great example is Microvast, which spiked after a breakthrough in solid-state battery technology.
Now, that's a potential game changer for the entire EV industry.
Huge.
Solid-state batteries, they promise longer range, faster charging, improved safety. It's a big deal.
So is Microvast a stock our listeners should be watching?
Definitely one to keep an eye on. But it's important to remember, technological advancements don't always translate into immediate profits.
You really got to assess the company's financial health. Look at their position in the market. Do your research before making any investment decisions.
Okay, well, that brings us to the market open.
Here we go.
Buckle up, everybody.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Naughty. First up, XHG, a Chinese company we discussed earlier, is already on the move.
Looks like it could be related to that anticipated bill issuance from China to stimulate their currency.
Okay.
They're expected to inject billions into the market, which could have a ripple effect on certain Chinese stocks.
The interconnectedness of global economics, I love it.
It's fascinating, right?
It is.
And those connections are really key to understanding how events, both big and small, can impact your investment decisions.
All right, so next on our list, we've got VM, Vision Marine Technologies. Still riding that electric boat wave.
Looks like the stock is up significantly, but it's already pulling back from its pre-market highs.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that those early morning spikes can be very, very fleeting.
Oh, for sure. Don't chase the hype. Let the market tell its story. Let it reveal its intentions.
Now, speaking of hype, remember XTI Aerospace, that company we were discussing? Yeah, looks like our caution was warranted. The stock is down sharply after a 250-to-1 reverse stock split.
Oof. That's a tough lesson for investors who might have been drawn in by the flashy moves, but didn't pay attention to the underlying fundamentals.
Yeah, due diligence, folks. Always do your research.
Yeah.
Especially with a company that has a, maybe a questionable track record.
Right, or aggressive stock maneuvers like this one.
Now, on a brighter note, ARBO is soaring after positive data from a gene editing trial for infants.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Still early days, but this could be a groundbreaking development in the medical field.
Absolutely. It's definitely one to watch, particularly for those investors who are interested in the long-term potential of gene editing technology.
This is the future.
Yeah, it really is. All right, next up is ZVS, another company moving on news from earlier this week.
It really highlights the importance of staying informed, even when the market's closed. News can break at any time, and those who are prepared, they're the ones who can capitalize on those opportunities.
It's a 247 news cycle for investors these days.
No rest for the weary.
Now, Microvast, our solid-state battery star, is also showing some impressive gains.
Stock's up over 30%, but, with a hefty 100 million share float, it might not have the same explosive potential as some of those smaller players.
So it's all about weighing the potential of the technology against those realities of market dynamics.
Exactly. It's not always about the best technology.
Okay, all right. Time for a quick meme stock check-in. How's YOLO, our favorite wild card, doing?
Hollow. Defying logic as always.
Yeah.
It's holding on to some of its gains from yesterday's after-hours pot, but it's always very high risk, very high reward.
So maybe not one for the faint of heart.
Definitely not. The stock can turn on a dime.
All right, next on our list is AKEA, AOA Biosciences. Looks like it's struggling to break through some resistance.
Yeah, keep an eye on that area around $65. If it can hold above that level, it might have some room to run. But like a lot of stocks today, it just needs more volume to fuel a sustained move.
Needs a catalyst,
Yeah.
something to really get it going.
Absolutely. Volume is the fuel that drives price movement. You need that buy-in pressure to really push through those resistance levels.
Now, here's an interesting one. BAER, Bridger Aerospace, our aerial firefighting company. No news today, but it is showing some pre-market strength.
Well, the connection to the California wildfires is clear, right?
Yeah.
It's a sector to watch for sure as those rebuilding efforts really ramp up. And did you know their founder, Timothy Shea, he's now a U.S. Senator for Montana?
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. It's a reminder that the business world and politics, they're often very closely intertwined.
Oh, absolutely. And that connection could potentially benefit Bridger Aerospace in the long run. And speaking of connections, the wildfires are really creating ripple effects across various sectors.
Yeah, we're seeing potential opportunities in housing, construction, debris removal, even fireproofing materials.
Right. It's not just about the immediate impact. You got to think about the long-term implications.
Now, while we're on the topic of the wildfires, let's talk about Bank of America. Apparently, one of their branches was damaged in the fires.
Oh, wow.
It highlights the widespread impact of these disasters, right? Even large institutions aren't immune.
Absolutely. But Bank of America, they have a vast network of branches, right?
Yeah.
So this one incident is unlikely to have a significant impact on their overall performance.
Yeah, but it is a reminder that diversification is key.
Oh, always. For both companies and for investors.
Right. Okay, now let's zoom in on some companies that are moving on news unrelated to the wildfires. VRME, which saw a big spike on Wednesday, is showing signs of life again.
Yeah, it's trying to recapture that momentum from earlier in the week. But watch that volume. It needs to pick up to really sustain a move higher.
It's like a runner trying to, regain their stride after stumbling.
Another great analogy. Momentum can be very fragile. It takes a lot of effort to regain that.
Now, speaking of momentum, MVST, our solid-state battery innovator, is trying to hold above a key level.
This is a stock that could see further upside if it can maintain its current trajectory. But again, solid-state battery technology still in its early stages,
Right.
a long-term play.
Long-term, yeah.
Hmm.
Patience is key. Important to be able to distinguish between short-term hype and long-term potential.
So true.
Now, let's talk about a company that's feeling the heat from a short seller attack. TMDX, Transmedics.
Yeah, Scorpion Capital, they're known for their pretty aggressive short reports. They've targeted this company, sending the stock tumbling.
So is this a case of justified criticism, or is it a hit job?
It's too early to tell.
Yeah.
We need to carefully analyze those claims, see what Transmedics has to say in response before drawing any conclusions.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good reminder that short sellers, they play an important role in exposing fraud and mismanagement,
Right.
but they can also be motivated by profit.
Absolutely. Got to evaluate their claims with a critical eye.
All right, let's turn our attention back to the broader market. The SPY is testing that critical support level that we discussed earlier, 582.3 or C.
Yeah, that level, it represents a previous breakout point. It's acted as both support and resistance in recent months.
Right.
It's a crucial battleground for the bulls and the bears.
So if the SPY breaks below this level, could it signal further downside ahead?
Exactly. A break below 582.30 would be a bearish signal, potentially leading to a deeper correction.
And we're already seeing some broad market weakness, more stocks declining than advancing.
Yeah, market breadth. It's a key indicator of overall strength or weakness. Right now, it's pointing towards weakness, suggesting that sell-in pressure is widespread.
And adding to that anxiety, the VIX, our volatility gauge, is spiking higher, surpassing Wednesday's high.
Yeah, that just reflects that heightened uncertainty in the market, right? Traders are pricing in the potential for further downside. And that fear, it's driving the VIX higher.
Not a day for the faint of heart.
It's a day for caution, careful analysis, and risk management.
All right, well, meanwhile, WBA, Walgreens Boots Alliance, is bucking the trend, soaring on better-than-expected earnings.
Love to see it. This is a classic example of a company-specific catalyst driving a stock higher, even in a down market.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that opportunities can exist even in the midst of that broader weakness.
Absolutely.
Now, I think there were some rumors of a potential acquisition.
Oh, that's right.
Something about Sycamore Partners maybe buying them out.
Yeah, those rumors surfaced last month. Could be fueling some speculation today.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's a good reminder that, staying informed about potential mergers and acquisitions can be very beneficial for investors.
Okay, so Walgreens defying the market gloom, powered by earnings and buyout rumors.
It's a good reminder that, not all stocks move in lockstep with the overall market. Individual company stories, they can have a huge impact.
All right, now let's take a look at Edison International, the California utility company that we were talking about.
The stock has rebounded somewhat from its lows, but it's still down significantly for the week.
Yeah.
That question remains, how much liability will they ultimately face for these California wildfires?
Complex, isn't it?
It's very complex, potentially billions of dollars at stake.
Yeah.
And the outcome of this is going to have a major impact on Edison's financial future.
And we're already seeing some reports suggesting that criminal activity might have been a factor in those fires.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
If that proves to be true, it could significantly reduce their liability.
Yeah.
Big if.
So this is one to watch closely as the news develops.
Definitely. The situation is fluid. New information could emerge at any moment.
Now let's revisit our quantum computing discussion from earlier.
Okay, yeah.
It seems like there's still a lot of debate about how far away we are from seeing those widespread commercial applications.
Yeah, Jensen Huang, he's the CEO of Nvidia. He believes that quantum computing is still a ways off. He doesn't think it's going to be truly useful and profitable, at least not anytime soon.
But the CEO of D-Wave, which is a quantum computing company, argues that they're already commercially viable.
It's an interesting contrast, isn't it? Really highlights those complexities and uncertainties surrounding this whole emerging technology.
So who's right?
I don't think it's a simple answer. I think they both could be right in their own way.
Okay.
Nvidia, they're focused on what's called gate-based quantum computing. That's considered like the ultimate goal, right? But D-Wave is working with a different type called quantum annealing. And that's already finding some commercial applications, although it's on a much smaller scale.
Cool, like comparing apples and oranges.
Exactly. Both types have their own strengths and limitations.
And it seems like investors are much more excited about predictive AI right now.
Yeah.
Even though it's arguably less advanced than quantum annealing.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how market hype doesn't always align with technological progress.
Right.
Investors are often drawn to what's hot and trending, even if the underlying technology is still in its infancy.
So good reminder to try to separate that hype from reality.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to these emerging technologies.
Evaluate those fundamentals. Look at the long-term potential before getting caught up in all the excitement.
All right, now let's check in on some of the stocks that we've been tracking. VRME, Vision Marine Technologies, is still struggling to break through that $3 resistance level.
Needs a surge in volume to power through that barrier. Without it, likely to remain range-bound.
Like a car trying to climb a steep hill.
Yeah.
It needs that extra horsepower to reach the top.
Love the analogies today. Volume is the driving force behind price movement.
And meanwhile, the SPY is bouncing around near its lows, trying to find some support.
It's a tug-of-war between the buyers and sellers. If the buyers can step in and push it back above 582.30, it could signal a short-term bottom.
Okay.
But if the sellers maintain control, we could see a retest of those lows.
So it's a pretty critical juncture for the market.
Absolutely.
Next few minutes could really determine the direction for the rest of the day.
The time for vigilance, careful observation.
Okay. Another stock that's worth watching is Sana Biotechnology. Been trying to find a bottom for the past half hour. It's showing some signs of curling up.
If it can recapture the 4.30 level, it might have enough momentum to retest its VWAP.
So that's a potential buy signal for those who are looking for those short-term opportunities.
It's a possibility. But as always, manage your risk, have a clear exit strategy.
Now, let's revisit a stock we discussed earlier, Kit Digital. One of the few stocks showing some relative strength today, despite the market weakness.
Yeah, it's holding above its VWAP, attempting to push higher. If it can break through some resistance, it could see further upside.
Potential bright spot in an otherwise gloomy market.
Indeed, it's a reminder that opportunities can exist even in the midst of broader weakness.
Okay, now let's talk about a company that's benefiting from this cold snap that's gripping much of the country. UNG, the natural gas ETF.
Natural gas prices are surging as demand for heating increases. This is a seasonal trend we often see during the winter months.
And with snow falling as far south as Georgia, it's clear that this is a widespread cold snap.
Exactly. And this kind of unexpected weather event is creating a surge in demand for natural gas, driving prices higher.
So UNG is a potential play for those looking to capitalize on this short-term trend.
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
But remember, weather patterns can be fickle.
Right.
This cold snap might not last, and natural gas prices could reverse pretty quickly.
So speculative play as always.
Exactly. Understand the risks involved before making any decisions.
Now let's check in on Edison International once again. Seems like investors are becoming a bit more optimistic that their liability for the wildfires will be somewhat limited.
Yeah, that news that criminal activity might have been a factor is boosting the stock. Investors are betting that it'll reduce their financial burden.
So classic case of buy the rumor, sell the news.
Precisely. The market's anticipating a positive outcome for Edison. And that optimism, it's driving the stock higher.
But important to remember, the situation is still unfolding.
Oh, yeah,
New information could emerge at any time.
absolutely. Got to stay informed, be prepared to adjust your strategy as things develop.
Now, let's talk about a company that's facing a pretty unique set of challenges. CMCT, Creative Media, and Community Trust. This is a real estate investment trust that owns office buildings.
Office REITs.
Yeah?
They've been struggling, haven't they?
Mm.
With the rise of remote work, CMCT is no exception.
Right.
Stock's been on a downtrend, and the company's future is very uncertain.
So, a potential value trap for investors hoping for a rebound.
It's a possibility. The office real estate market is facing some very significant headwinds, and it's unclear when or if CMCT will recover.
Definitely a stock to approach with some caution.
Absolutely. You got to do thorough research. Careful analysis is essential before investing in any company facing such fundamental challenges.
Now, let's go back to a theme that we discussed earlier. That potential for rotation into more defensive sectors.
Right. As the market weakens, investors often seek refuge in sectors that are less sensitive to economic downturns, like consumer staples, utilities, healthcare.
So it's like seeking shelter from a storm.
A perfect analogy. Defensive sectors can provide a measure of stability during those times of market turbulence.
And we're already seeing some evidence of this rotation, with Walgreens Boots Alliance leading the way.
Right. Their strong earnings and potential buyout rumors, those are attracting investors who are looking for that safe haven.
So even in a down market, there are always opportunities.
You just got to know where to look.
All right. Let's shift gears and talk about a company that's tapping into a very specific market need. CGBSD, a natural gas company.
Interest in play with natural gas prices on the rise.
Yeah.
Driven by that cold snap, increase in demand for heating.
They're relatively new, IPO'd last July. Could be some growth potential there.
It's a possibility, but like always, carefully evaluate those financials, look at their position in the market before making any decisions.
Now let's revisit a stock that we talked about earlier, PENW, Penumbra.
This medical device company showing some promising signs, bouncing off its lows, exhibiting some bullish technical indicators.
And with a relatively low RSI, it could be a potential rebound play.
It's worth considering, especially for those who are comfortable with a bit more risk.
Okay, time for a market reality check. The SPY is still struggling, having been rejected from that 582.30 new level.
Unfortunately, the bears seem to be in control right now. The sell-in pressure is persistent and the market breadth remains weak.
So is this the start of a larger correction, or is it just a temporary dip?
Too early to say with any certainty. We need to see how the market reacts over the coming days and weeks.
Okay.
If that sell-in pressure continues, it could signal a deeper correction. But if the buyers step in and stabilize things, it might just be a short-term pullback.
So it's a waiting game for now. But as always, it's important to stay informed, manage your risk, and be prepared to adjust your strategy. Let the market guide you.
Exactly. Flexibility and adaptability are key in this constantly changing market environment.
All right. Well, folks, it's been a wild ride today. The market's thrown a few curveballs.
From unexpected news to some surprising price movements.
It's been a fascinating lesson in market dynamics, really highlighting that importance of staying informed, understanding those catalysts, reacting swiftly to changing conditions.
Absolutely.
We've explored the interplay of global events, company-specific news, investor sentiment.
And we've seen how all those forces can collide, creating both opportunities and risks.
So as you navigate the market next week, remember the lessons we've learned today.
Stay curious, analyze the information, always be prepared for the unexpected.
Until next time, keep those charts open.
And stay tuned for more deep dives into this fascinating world of finance.
Absolutely.
Happy trading, everyone. Really is amazing how quickly things can shift in the market, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Well, and Microvast, that solid-state battery company we were talking about earlier,
Right?
is seeing some pretty impressive gains today.
Up over 30% already, but with such a large number of shares out there, it may not have the same explosive potential as some of the smaller, more tightly held companies.
Yeah, that's right. So it's about understanding those dynamics.
For sure.
And really kind of looking at the bigger picture when you're evaluating opportunities.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of opportunities, how is Hollow doing, our favorite unpredictable meme stock?
Hollow defies all logic, as always.
Of course.
It's holding on to some of those gains from yesterday's after-hours surge, but, as always, High risk, high reward.
Yeah, so maybe not for the investor who's looking for something steady and predictable.
No, definitely not. This one's a roller coaster. You never know which way it's going to go.
Now, AOA Bioscience is on our list.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it's hitting some resistance around that $65 mark.
Yeah, it needs a real surge in buy-in volume to get going.
Like a car that needs a bigger engine, you know.
Exactly. Volume is the fuel that drives price movement.
Now, Bridger Aerospace,
Yeah.
the aerial firefighting company, is showing pre-market strength even without any news today.
Well, the California wildfires are definitely keeping this sector in focus.
Yeah.
As those rebuilding efforts get underway.
Yeah, it is a sobering thought that tragedies can create investment opportunities.
Right.
But it highlights the importance of looking at the broader implications, too.
For sure. And it's not just about the immediate aftermath.
Right.
The economic and environmental consequences of these fires are going to be felt for years to come.
Now, speaking of ripple effects, Bank of America, one of their branches was damaged in the fires.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a reminder that even massive institutions can be impacted by these kinds of events.
True, but Bank of America has a huge network of branches.
Yeah.
So this one incident is unlikely to have a big effect on their performance overall.
Right.
It does reinforce the importance of diversification, though.
It does always for companies and for investors.
Always.
Now, VRME, which had a big jump on Wednesday, is showing signs of life again today.
Trying to regain that momentum, but need to watch the volume, you know? Without a big increase in buy-in, the move might not last.
Like a basketball player trying to get hot again.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see a few shots go in.
Exactly. And in the stock market, volume is often a reflection of that confidence,
Yeah. Well, speaking of confidence, Microvast is working hard to hold above a key technical level.
This is a stock that could go higher, especially if it can break through that resistance.
Yeah.
But, solid-state battery technology, still relatively new.
Right.
Patience is key.
Yeah.
Don't let the short-term excitement cloud your judgment.
Now, Transmedics is a company facing some challenges today. It's being targeted by a short seller.
Yeah, Scorpion Capital, known for their aggressive tactics, issued a report criticizing the company, and the stock has taken a hit.
It's a good reminder that short sellers can have a big impact on the market,
Oh, yeah.
And it's important to, consider their claims, but also look at the company's response.
Absolutely. Don't jump to conclusions just based on a short seller's report.
Right.
Do your own research.
Okay, so let's take a look at the broader market now. The S&P 500 is testing that support level at 582.30.
This is a level that's been important in recent months.
Yeah.
Acting as both support and resistance.
Right.
It's a real battleground right now between buyers and sellers.
So if we break below this level, it could signal more downside for the market.
Exactly. A break below 582.3 would be a bearish signal.
And we are seeing more stocks declining than advancing right now.
Yeah, that's right. Market breadth is a key indicator of the overall health of the market.
Right.
And right now, it's painting a cautious picture.
And adding to that, the VIX, our volatility index, is spiking higher.
Yeah, investors are getting nervous.
So a day for careful analysis
Absolutely.
and risk management.
Yeah, but amidst all this, there are bright spots.
Oh, yeah.
Walgreens Boots Alliance, for example, soaring on better than expected earnings.
They are defying the market.
It's a reminder that even in a tough market, individual companies can still do really well based on their own fundamentals and news flow.
And we can't forget those buyout rumors.
Right, those are adding fuel to the fire.
Speaking of fires, let's check back in on Edison International. How's the stock reacting to the latest wildfire news?
Rebounded a bit, but it's still down significantly for the week.
Yeah.
That question of how much liability they'll face is still a big concern for investors.
Yeah, and those reports about criminal activity potentially playing a role are making things even more complex.
It's a stock to keep a close eye on, for sure. This situation is still very fluid.
Okay, now let's go back to our quantum computing discussion for a minute.
Yeah.
Seems like there's still a lot of debate about the timeline for seeing it more widely adopted commercially.
Yeah, the CEO of Nvidia is taking a more cautious approach, while the CEO of D-Wave, a quantum computing company, is much more optimistic.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how different perspectives can shape how we see these emerging technologies.
And it highlights the importance of doing your own research,
Yeah.
Don't just take one person's word for it.
Now, VRME is still trying to break through that $3 resistance level.
It needs a surge in volume to power through.
Yeah, like a boat that needs wind to fill its sails.
Another great analogy.
Volume is essential.
Absolutely.
Meanwhile, the S&P 500 is still hovering near its lows, looking for a foothold.
It's a delicate dance between buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
The outcome of this will likely determine where the market goes from here.
Now, Sana Biotechnology has been trying to find a bottom for a while, And it might be setting up for a short-term trade.
If it can regain some momentum and break above a key level, there could be a buy-in opportunity.
Okay.
But, as always, manage your risk.
Nice.
Have a clear exit strategy.
Now, Kit Digital is one of the few stocks showing relative strength today.
Yeah, holding up well despite the market weakness.
Investors must be seeing something they like.
It's a testament to a good story and solid execution.
And UNG, the natural gas ETF, is a timely play right now with these cold temperatures.
Natural gas prices are definitely on the rise, but that cold snap might not last.
Right, so approach with caution.
Exactly. Be prepared for potential reversal.
Now, Edison International is seeing a boost from the possibility that their liability for those wildfires might be limited.
Yeah, the news about possible criminal activity is lifting sentiment.
But the situation is still unfolding.
It is.
So stay informed and be flexible.
Absolutely.
Now, Creative Media and Community Trust, an office REIT, is facing some pretty significant challenges.
Yeah, with the rise of remote work, office buildings just aren't as desirable as they used to be.
It's a sector that's in transition and it's not clear how they're going to adapt.
Tough situation.
Yeah, and we're seeing investors rotating into those more defensive sectors like consumer staples, utilities, and healthcare.
Makes sense. As the market weakens, those sectors tend to hold up better.
Like finding shelter from the storm.
Exactly.
Now, Inspiria Technologies, a company that makes protective masks, is seeing increased demand because of the California wildfires.
It's a sad reminder that even tragedies can create opportunities in the market.
It's a delicate balance, but those companies are providing essential products and services.
Right. Meet and neat.
Now, Galaxy Payroll Group, a Hong Kong-based company, is getting some attention with all this positive press coverage and the potential benefits from China's economic stimulus.
Yeah, it's a company with a good growth story, and the timing is right with all that liquidity flowing into the Chinese market.
But you know that market can be unpredictable.
Oh, yeah. Proceed with caution.
Now, speaking of unpredictable, Reddit is a company that's been generating a lot of buzz lately.
Yeah, it's become a real hub for political discussion and activism, and with the Trump inauguration coming up, there's potential for even more activity and engagement.
Definitely a company to keep an eye on.
Could play a big role in shaping the online conversation.
Well, let's circle back to quantum computing for a minute.
Okay.
That debate about when we'll see wider commercial applications continues.
Lots of different opinions out there.
Yeah, some experts say we're years away, others are more optimistic.
The future is never certain.
Now, Vision Marine Technologies is still fighting to get past that $3 resistance level.
It needs more volume.
And the S&P 500 is still bouncing around near its lows, searching for some solid ground.
This is a real pivotal moment for the market. A break below that support level could trigger more sell-in, but a hold above it could signal a rebound.
Now, Sana Biotechnology is showing some signs of life, potentially setting up for a short-term trade.
Could have enough momentum to make a run at its previous high.
And Kit Digital is still doing well despite the market weakness.
It's a testament to good management and execution.
Now, UNG, the natural gas ETF, is a play for right now, but that cold weather might not stick around.
So be careful.
And Edison International is getting a lift from the possibility that their liability from the wildfires might be limited.
It's a wait-and-see situation.
Now, Creative Media and Community Trust, the office REIT, is facing some headwinds.
That whole sector is in a tough spot.
And we're seeing that rotation into those more defensive sectors.
Makes sense when the market is shaky, investors look for safety.
Now, CGBSD is a natural gas company that could be worth a look.
With natural gas prices rising, it's an interesting play.
And Penumbra, the medical device company, is showing some promising signs.
Could be a rebound candidate.
Okay, time for another market reality check. The S&P 500 is still struggling.
Yeah, the bears are in control right now.
So is this the start of a bigger correction or just a temporary blip?
Too early to say. We need more time to see how things play out.
But, stay informed, manage your risk, and adjust your strategy as needed.
Exactly. The market will tell us what to do.
Okay, so we've been talking about this natural gas sector. What about CGBSD?
Oh, yeah, with natural gas prices up because of all this cold weather, it's definitely a sector to keep an eye on.
Right, and they just went public back in July, so relatively new to the market.
Could be some good opportunities there, but, always got to do your homework.
Absolutely. Now, remember Penumbra, that medical device company we were talking about?
Yeah, it looks like it's trying to make a comeback after that dip.
Some analysts are pointing to that low RSI, saying it might be a buy signal.
Could be worth a look, especially for those investors who are a little more comfortable with risk.
Okay, got to check in with the market again. Looks like the S&P 500 is still struggling to get past 582.3.
Yeah, the bears are definitely in control right now.
So is this the start of a bigger correction or just a temporary blip?
It's really hard to say right now.
Yeah.
Gonna need to see how the market reacts over the next few days, maybe even weeks.
Okay, well, we've covered a lot today.
We have, from market psychology to some really specific stock movements.
It's been a whirlwind.
A whirlwind tour of the financial markets.
Hopefully everybody out there listening gained some valuable insights today.
I think so. We saw how global events, company news, investor sentiment, they all come together.
And it can get pretty complicated, right?
It really can. It creates opportunities, but also risks.
So as we wrap this up, what are some key takeaways, some things you want to leave folks thinking about?
I always say, stay informed,
Oh, yeah.
do your research, and be ready to adapt, because things can change quickly.
That's great advice because the markets are always moving.
Exactly. So you got to be flexible. And don't be afraid to ask questions, seek out different viewpoints, maybe even challenge your own thinking.
That's so important. Got to keep learning.
Well, it's been great joining you for this deep dive.
The pleasure was all mine. And to everyone listening, thanks for coming along on this journey with us. We hope you found it helpful and interesting.
Absolutely. And until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and happy investing.